Dr. Elena Vasquez wiped the sweat from her forehead as she crawled out from under the massive quantum engine. Her blue jumpsuit was stained with grease, and her hands were covered in the metallic dust that seemed to coat everything in the engine room. She had been working for 6 hours straight, trying to fix a problem that kept getting worse. The Meridian was humanity's most advanced research ship, built to explore the far reaches of space. But even the best technology had problems, and Elena was the person everyone called when things went wrong. She was good at her job, really good. Her friends back on Earth used to joke that she could fix anything with a wrench and some determination. Elena stood up and stretched her back. The engine room was huge, filled with pipes and wires and machines that hummed with energy. Blue lights flickered along the walls, showing the ship's vital signs. Everything looked normal, but Elena knew better. The quantum drive was losing power, and if they didn't fix it soon, they would be stuck floating in space. Another day, another breakdown, she muttered to herself, picking up her tools. Elena had been on the Meridian for 3 years now, and she loved every minute of it. Well, almost every minute. The loneliness of deep space could get to anyone, but the excitement of discovery made it all worth it. Just as she was about to start working on the next problem, the ship's communication system crackled to life. Captain Morrison's voice echoed through the engine room, sounding urgent and excited at the same time. All senior staff to the bridge immediately. We've got something you need to see. Elena dropped her tools and hurried through the ship's corridors. The Meridian was home to 200 people, all dedicated to pushing the boundaries of human exploration. Scientists, engineers, doctors, and support staff, all working together thousands of light years from home. When Elena reached the bridge, she found Captain Morrison staring at the main screen with wide eyes. The bridge was the heart of the ship, filled with computers and displays showing everything from navigation to life support. But today, everyone was focused on one thing. What is it, Captain? Elena asked. Joining the small group of senior officers, Captain Morrison pointed at the screen. We picked up a distress signal 20 minutes ago. Look at this. The main screen showed a vessel unlike anything Elena had ever seen. It was sleek and curved, almost like it had grown rather than been built. The metal seemed to shimmer with colors that changed as they watched. It was beautiful and strange at the same time. Where did it come from? Dr. Wong, the ship's medical officer, asked quietly. Unknown, the captain replied. The signal is weak, but our computers managed to translate part of it. Someone over there needs help, and they're asking for assistance. Elena felt her heart racing. In all of human history, they had never encountered another intelligent species. Sure, there were theories and hopes, but this was different. This was real. Could it be a trap? Asked Lieutenant Chen, the security chief. She was always cautious, always thinking about potential dangers. Captain Morrison shook his head. The ship appears to be powerless. Our scans show minimal life support and no weapon systems active. If this is real, if there's really someone alive over there, we have a duty to help. Elena stepped closer to the screen. The alien ship was drifting slowly, probably caught in the gravity of the nearby asteroids. It looked damaged, with scorch marks along its hull and what appeared to be missing pieces. Captain, Elena said, I volunteered to be part of the rescue team. If their technology is advanced enough for space travel, maybe they can help us with our own engine problems. Dr. Wong looked concerned. We don't know anything about their biology, their diseases, or their intentions. This could be incredibly dangerous. Everything we do out here is dangerous, Elena replied. But this could be the most important moment in human history. We can't just leave them to die. Captain Morrison was quiet for a long moment, thinking. Elena could see the weight of the decision on his face. As captain, he was responsible for everyone on the ship, but he was also an explorer, someone who had dedicated his life to discovering new things. Prepare a rescue shuttle, he finally said. Full containment protocols. Elena, you're right about the technology angle. I want you on the team, but we do this carefully. The next 2 hours were a blur of preparation. Elena put on her best protective suit and checked her equipment 3 times. The rescue team consisted of herself, 2 security officers, and a medical technician. They would use the shuttle to dock with the alien vessel, and hopefully rescue whoever was inside. As they approached the alien ship, Elena felt a mixture of excitement and fear. The vessel was even more impressive up close. The hull seemed to pulse with a faint inner light, and the design was so elegant it took her breath away. Readings show atmosphere inside, reported the pilot. Temperature and pressure are close to what we're used to. That's either a huge coincidence or they're more like us than we expected. Elena's hands were shaking as they docked with the alien ship. The airlock sealed with a soft hiss, and after several minutes of safety checks, the door opened. Interior of the alien ship was unlike anything Alina had imagined. The walls curved smoothly, and soft light seemed to come from everywhere and nowhere at once. It was warm and inviting, not cold and mechanical like human ships. They found the alien in what appeared to be the ship's control room. Alina's first sight of another intelligent being from beyond Earth was something she would never forget. The alien was tall and graceful, with skin that had a slight blue tint and seemed almost translucent. Her features were similar to humans but more refined, more delicate. She was clearly female, though Alina realized she was making assumptions, based on human standards. The alien was conscious but weak, sitting in a chair that seemed to mold itself to her body. When she saw the humans, her large eyes widened with what Alina hoped was relief rather than fear. Alina said softly, not sure if the alien could understand, "We received your distress signal. We're here to help." The alien spoke in a language that sounded like music, all flowing tones and gentle rhythms. Alina's translator device crackled to life, converting the sounds into words she could understand. "Thank you," the alien said, her voice weak but grateful. "I am Zara, my ship is dying, and I feared I would die with it." Alina felt tears in her eyes. First contact with an alien species, and it was a moment of compassion and mutual aid. This was what humanity was meant for, she thought. Not conquest or fear, but helping others and learning together. "I'm Alina," she replied. "We're going to get you to safety. Can you tell us what happened to your ship?" Zara struggled to stand, and Alina noticed that she kept pulling at her clothing as if it bothered her. The alien's outfit was form-fitting and seemed to be made of a material that changed color slightly as she moved. "Engine failure," Zara explained. "The quantum matrix collapsed, and I lost power to all systems. I have been drifting for many days." Elena's heart jumped. Quantum matrix, that sounded similar to their own quantum drive technology, but potentially more advanced. If Zara could help them understand how her ship worked, it might solve their own engine problems. "Would you be willing to come aboard our ship?" Alina asked. "Our medical team can help you recover, and maybe we can help each other with our engine problems." Zara nodded gratefully. As they helped her to the shuttle, Alina noticed that the alien seemed uncomfortable, constantly adjusting her clothing. And looking around nervously, Alina assumed it was just the stress of the situation. Back on the Meridian, the arrival of their alien guest caused quite a stir. Word spread quickly through the ship, and everyone wanted to catch a glimpse of Zara. Captain Morrison ordered that she be given quarters near the medical bay and asked Alina to serve as the primary liaison. Dr. Wong ran every medical scan he could think of, and to everyone's relief, Zara appeared to be healthy and posed no biological threat to the crew. Her physiology was similar to humans in many ways, though there were intriguing differences that would take time to understand. That evening, Alina sat with Zara in the ship's observation lounge, looking out at the stars. The alien seemed more relaxed now, though she still occasionally pulled at her clothing with what Alina was beginning to recognize as discomfort. "Your ship is impressive," Zara said, her English improving rapidly as the translation system learned her language patterns. "Your people have achieved much." "Thank you," Alina replied. "But I have a feeling we have a lot to learn from you. Would you be willing to help us with our engine problems? In exchange, we can give you passage to wherever you need to go." Zara's eyes lit up with interest. "I would be honored to help. My people believe that knowledge shared is knowledge multiplied." Alina smiled. Maybe this unexpected encounter would benefit both their species. She had no idea how much this simple agreement would change everything she thought she knew about work, culture, and what it meant to be professional. As they talked late into the night, Alina felt hopeful about the future. Humanity had made contact with another intelligent species, and instead of conflict, they had found cooperation. Tomorrow they would start working together to solve their mutual problems. Alina had no way of knowing that their first day working together would challenge every assumption she had about appropriate behavior. The next morning, Alina woke up earlier than usual. She had barely slept, her mind racing with excitement about working with alien technology. As she got dressed in her standard blue work jumpsuit, she kept thinking about what Zara had said about knowledge being multiplied when shared. Today would be the first time in human history that two different species would work together to solve an engineering problem. Alina made her way to the engine room, expecting to find it empty at this early hour. Instead, she found Zara already there, standing in front of the massive quantum drive with her hands pressed against the metal casing. The alien woman looked completely focused, almost like she was listening to something Alina couldn't hear. "Good morning, Zara," Alina called out as she approached. You're up early. Zara turned around, and Alina noticed that her guests looked tired. There were dark circles under her large eyes, and she seemed less energetic than the night before. I could not sleep well, Zara admitted. Your ship makes different sounds than mine, and the air feels thick. Alina frowned with concern. Are you feeling sick? Should we call Dr. Wong? No, Zara said quickly. I am fine, just adjusting. Shall we begin work? Alina nodded and pulled up the diagnostic reports on her tablet. Our quantum drive has been losing efficiency for weeks. The power output drops by about 2% every day. If we can't fix it, we'll be stranded out here. Zara moved closer to look at the data, and Alina noticed something odd. The alien kept tugging at the collar of her form-fitting outfit, pulling it away from her neck like it was bothering her. She also kept shifting from foot to foot, as if she couldn't get comfortable. Your quantum matrix design is interesting, Zara said, studying the information. Similar to ours, but you use a different crystalline structure. May I examine the actual components? Of course, Alina replied, leading her to the access panels. We'll need to crawl into some tight spaces. I hope you don't mind getting dirty. They spent the next hour working their way through the ship's engine systems. Alina was impressed by how quickly Zara understood their technology, but she was also growing more concerned about her new colleagues' behavior. Zara kept pausing to pull at her clothing, and Alina could see sweat beading on the alien's forehead. Despite the cool temperature in the engine room, are you sure you're feeling okay? Alina asked during one of these pauses. You seem uncomfortable. Zara looked embarrassed. I am sorry. Your clothing customs are different from ours. This outfit feels very restrictive. Alina looked down at Zara's clothing. It seemed perfectly normal to her, maybe even more comfortable than human clothes, since it appeared to be made of some kind of advanced fabric that moved with the body. What kind of clothes do your people usually wear? Alina asked, genuinely curious. Zara hesitated. We wear much less when we work, especially when working with energy systems, but I understand that your people have different rules about proper appearance. Alina didn't think much of this conversation at the time. Different cultures had different ideas about clothing. After all, she just assumed that Zara's people preferred looser-fitting garments. As the morning progressed, they moved deeper into the engine systems, where the temperature was higher due to the energy flowing through the quantum conduits. Alina was used to the heat, but she noticed that Zara seemed to be struggling even more now. The alien was breathing heavily, and her skin had taken on a slightly gray tint that Alina was pretty sure wasn't normal. Zara, we need to take a break, Alina said firmly. You don't look well. No, Zara protested. I can continue. Your ship needs repairs. But even as she spoke, Zara swayed on her feet. Alina caught her arm to steady her, and she was shocked by how hot Zara's skin felt through the fabric of her outfit. You're overheating, Alina said with alarm. We need to get you out of here right now, please, Zara said desperately. I must help, but I cannot work properly like this. The heat builds up inside these clothes, and I cannot release it. Alina was confused. What do you mean, release it? Zara looked around nervously, then back at Alina. My people, we regulate our body temperature through our skin. When we work with energy systems, we must allow our skin to breathe and absorb the electromagnetic fields. It is how we stay healthy and work efficiently. I still don't understand, Alina said, though a strange feeling was growing in her stomach. Zara took a deep breath, clearly struggling with how to explain. Alina, when my people work, especially in warm places or with energy systems, we remove our outer garments. Our skin needs direct contact with the air and the energy fields. Without this, we become sick and cannot think clearly. Alina stared at her. You mean you need to take off your clothes to work properly? Zara nodded, looking mortified. I know this must seem wrong to you. Your people keep covered always. Yes, but for us, it is necessary for health and for proper work. Alina felt her world turning upside down. Everything she thought she knew about workplace professionalism, about proper behavior, about what was appropriate was being challenged by this simple explanation. But we have safety protocols, Alina stammered. Contamination procedures, proper work attire. You can't just ... She stopped herself, seeing the desperation in Zara's eyes. The alien woman was clearly suffering, but she was trying to conform to what she thought were human expectations. Alina, Zara said quietly, I want to help your ship. I want to work with you, but I am becoming too sick to think properly. In 1 hour, maybe 2, I will collapse if I cannot cool my body and connect with the energy fields properly. Alina looked around the engine room, her mind racing. They were alone down here. The other crew members rarely came to this section unless there was an emergency. She thought about all the times she had seen workers on Earth removing shirts or rolling up sleeves when the work got hot and difficult. But this was different. This was an alien with completely different physiological needs. What would happen if other crew members saw you? Alina asked, still trying to process this situation. I do not know, Zara admitted. On my world, this would be normal, professional, but I understand that your people might be shocked or offended. Alina realized she was facing a choice that would define not just their working relationship, but possibly the entire future of human-alien cooperation. She could insist that Zara follow human customs and risk her health and their ability to fix the ship, or she could support Zara's needs and deal with whatever consequences came from challenging human expectations. Show me, Alina said suddenly. What? Zara looked surprised. Show me what you mean. If this is really about your health and your ability to work, then show me. Help me understand. Zara hesitated for a long moment, then slowly began removing her outer garment. Alina watched, fascinated and a little nervous, as Zara's skin was revealed. The alien skin was even more translucent than Alina had realized, with a network of what looked like veins or channels running just beneath the surface. As soon as the garment was removed, the change in Zara was dramatic. Her skin immediately began to take on a healthier color, and the channels beneath her skin started to glow softly with a blue-green light. Zara took a deep breath and smiled. For the first time all morning, much better, she said with obvious relief. Now I can work properly. Alina stared in amazement as Zara approached the quantum drive again. This time, when Zara placed her hands on the metal casing, the channels in her skin pulsed with light that seemed to match the rhythm of the ship's energy systems. I can feel the problem now, Zara said with excitement. Your quantum matrix is not damaged, it is misaligned. The crystals are vibrating at slightly wrong frequencies. I can show you how to fix this. Over the next 2 hours, Alina watched Zara work with an efficiency and understanding that seemed almost magical. The alien could literally sense the energy flows through her skin, detecting problems that their most advanced instruments had missed. She guided Alina through adjustments and calibrations that gradually brought the quantum drive back to full power. But Alina's mind wasn't just on the technical work. She was grappling with a much bigger realization. Everything she had been taught about appropriate workplace behavior was based on human physiology and human culture. What seemed unprofessional or inappropriate to humans was actually essential for Zara's health and professional competence. Alina, Zara said as they finished the repairs. I hope you understand now why this was necessary. I was not trying to break your customs or cause problems. I simply needed to work the way my body requires. Alina nodded slowly. I'm beginning to understand. But Zara, there's something you should know. Other humans on this ship might not understand like I do. They might react badly. Zara looked worried. What should I do? Alina thought for a moment. For now, let's keep this between us. But I think I need to do some research and maybe talk to Captain Morrison. If we're going to work together, we need to find a way to make this work without causing problems for either of us. As they prepared to leave the engine room, Alina realized that this was just the beginning. They had solved the immediate technical problem, but they had opened up a much bigger question about how different species with different needs could work together. Alina had always considered herself open-minded, but today had challenged her in ways Alina spent the rest of that day thinking about what had happened in the engine room. She kept replaying the moment when Zara's skin had started glowing, how the alien had suddenly become so much more capable and confident. It was like watching someone transformed from struggling to absolutely brilliant in just a few minutes. That evening, Alina decided she needed to do some research. She went to her quarters and pulled up everything the ship's computer had about workplace safety, cultural differences, and interspecies cooperation protocols. Most of it was theoretical since humans had never actually worked with aliens before, but she found some interesting guidelines about respecting different physiological needs. The next morning, Alina arrived at the engine room early again. She had made a decision during the night, and she wanted to talk to Zara before anyone else showed up for their shifts. Zara was already there, of course, looking tired and uncomfortable in her form-fitting outfit. Alina could see the alien was trying to prepare herself for another difficult day of working while fighting against her own body's needs. Zara, Alina said as she approached, I've been thinking about yesterday, about what you told me about your people's working requirements. Zara looked nervous. Alina, I understand if you cannot allow it. I will try to manage somehow. No, that's not what I'm saying, Alina interrupted. I'm saying that I think we should set up a proper work environment for you. One where you can work safely and efficiently according to your people's needs. Zara's eyes widened with surprise and hope. You would do this? Alina nodded. We're going to section off part of the engine room. Create a workspace where you can work comfortably without worrying about other crew members walking in unexpectedly. It's the logical solution. Over the next hour, Alina helped Zara set up what they privately called the specialized work zone. They used portable barriers to create a private area around the most complex engine components, with warning signs that indicated restricted access for safety reasons. It wasn't exactly lying, Alina reasoned. It really was about safety, just not the kind of safety most people would think about. Once Zara was able to work in her natural way, the results were incredible. Alina watched in fascination as her alien colleagues' abilities seemed to multiply. Zara could detect energy fluctuations that their instruments couldn't even measure. She could identify problems by touch that would take human engineers hours to find with scanners. This is amazing, Alina said as she watched Zara work on a particularly complex repair. How are you doing that? Zara smiled, clearly feeling much better now that she could work properly. My skin can sense electromagnetic fields directly. When I am covered by too much clothing, it is like you trying to work while wearing thick gloves. Possible, but very difficult and inefficient. Alina began to understand that what she had initially seen as a cultural difference was actually a fundamental aspect of how Zara's species had evolved to work with technology. It wasn't about customs or preferences. It was about biology and capability. Working together in their private workspace, Alina and Zara accomplished more in 3 days than Alina had managed in 3 weeks working alone. They not only fixed the quantum drive completely, but they also improved its efficiency by 15%. Zara's insights into energy flow patterns led to innovations that Alina had never considered, but their success created a new problem. Other crew members started noticing the improvements and asking questions. Dr. Wang was the first to become suspicious. Alina found him waiting outside the engine room one morning, looking concerned and official. Alina, I need to talk to you about the work arrangements with our guest, he said in his formal medical officer voice. Alina felt her stomach tighten. What about them, Dr. Wang? Several crew members have reported that you and Zara have been working in a restricted area with privacy barriers. They're wondering what kind of work requires such secrecy. Some people are starting to talk. Alina tried to stay calm. We're working on sensitive engine components. The barriers are for safety and to prevent contamination of the quantum matrix. Dr. Wong looked skeptical. Alina, I've been the medical officer on this ship for 5 years. I know when someone is not telling me the whole truth. What's really going on in there? Before Alina could answer, Lieutenant Chen appeared around the corner, looking official and somewhat stern. Alina's heart sank. If the security chief was getting involved, things were about to become much more complicated. Dr. Vasquez, Lieutenant Chen said formally, I need to discuss some concerns that have been brought to my attention regarding work protocol violations. Alina felt trapped between 2 senior officers, both looking at her with suspicion and concern. She realized that her attempts to quietly accommodate Zara's needs had actually made things look more suspicious than if she had been open about it from the beginning. What kind of concerns? Alina asked, though she was pretty sure. She already knew. Lieutenant Chen consulted her tablet. Multiple crew members have reported unusual work arrangements, restricted access to normally open areas, and what appears to be violation of standard safety protocols. There are also reports of inappropriate work conditions. Alina felt anger flaring up inside her. Inappropriate according to whom? Based on what standards? Based on human standards, Dr. Wong said firmly. Alina, I understand you want to be accommodating to our guest, but we have protocols for a reason. We can't just ignore safety regulations and proper workplace behavior because someone asks us to. But what if our standards don't make sense? For someone who isn't human, Alina shot back. What if following our protocols actually makes the work less safe and less effective? Lieutenant Chen and Dr. Wong exchanged glances, clearly thinking that Alina was letting her friendship with Zara cloud her professional judgment. Alina, Dr. Wong said more gently, I think you need to step back and consider whether you're making decisions based on sound, reasoning, or emotional attachment to our guest. Alina realized that trying to explain without showing them would be impossible. They couldn't understand what they hadn't seen for themselves. Come with me, Alina said suddenly. Both of you. I want to show you something. She led them to the engine room, where she could hear Zara already working behind the barriers. Alina called out a warning, giving Zara time to prepare, then pulled back one of the privacy screens. Dr. Wang and Lieutenant Chen both stopped in their tracks, staring at what they saw. Zara was working on a complex energy coupling. her skin glowing with soft patterns that matched the rhythm of the ship's power systems. Her hands moved with impossible precision, guided by sensors that humans didn't possess. "This is why Alina said quietly. This is how her people work with technology. Not because of culture or preference, but because of biology. She can do things we can't even measure with our instruments." As they watched, Zara completed a repair that Alina knew would have taken a human team hours to accomplish. The alien worked with complete focus and obvious expertise, her unusual abilities making her incredibly effective at her job. Dr. Wang was the first to speak. "Her skin is actually interfacing with the energy systems." Alina nodded. "She can sense electromagnetic fields directly. Covering her skin is like asking us to work blindfolded." She was getting sick trying to conform to our expectations. Lieutenant Chen was studying the readouts on nearby displays. The efficiency improvements over the past few days, the repairs that seemed impossible. "This is how you did it." "We did it," Alina corrected. "Working together, using both human knowledge and her unique abilities." Zara finished her work and turned to face the three humans. Alina could see that she was nervous about being discovered, but also proud of the work she had accomplished. "I apologize if I have caused problems," Zara said formally. "I was only trying to help your ship while respecting what I thought were your customs." Dr. Wong looked embarrassed. "Zara, I think we owe you an apology. We made assumptions based on our own experience, without considering your actual needs." Lieutenant Chen was still processing what she had seen. The crew members who complained, they don't understand the context. They just saw privacy barriers and assumed something inappropriate was happening. Alina felt a mix of relief and worry. She was glad that two senior officers now understood the situation, but she knew that convincing the rest of the crew would be much harder. "What do we tell the others?" Alina asked. "How do we explain this without causing panic or prejudice?" Dr. Wong thought for a moment. "We tell them the truth, that different species have different physiological requirements for optimal work performance. That what we initially misunderstood as inappropriate behavior is actually essential professional capability." Lieutenant Chen nodded slowly. "It won't be easy. Some crew members have strong opinions about proper workplace behavior, but if the results speak for themselves, maybe we can change some minds." Alina looked at Zara, who was putting her outer garment back on now that their work session was finished. She realized that they had reached a turning point. The secret was out, but instead of condemnation, they had found understanding from the people who mattered most. "The real question," Alina said, "is whether we can create an environment where different species can work together effectively, each according to." Alina thought the hardest part was over. Dr. Wong and Lieutenant Chen understood the situation now, and they had agreed to help explain things to the crew. But Alina should have known that nothing in space was ever that simple. 3 days after their conversation with the senior officers, Alina was in her quarters reviewing technical reports when the ship's emergency alarm started blaring. The sound echoed through the corridors, followed immediately by Captain Morrison's voice over the communication system. "All hands to emergency stations. We have a cascade failure in the life support systems." This is not a drill. Alina's blood ran cold. A cascade failure meant that one system breakdown was causing others to fail in a domino effect. She grabbed her emergency kit and ran toward the engine room, knowing that every minute counted when life support was failing. When she arrived, she found chaos. Captain Morrison was there with half the senior staff, all looking at displays showing rapidly declining system performance. The air recycling units were failing one by one, and the backup systems weren't coming online properly. "Alina, thank God you're here," Captain Morrison said urgently. "We've lost primary life support on decks 4 through 7. The backup systems are overloading because they can't handle the extra load. We need solutions, and we need them fast." Alina quickly analyzed the situation. The cascade had started when a power surge damaged the main atmospheric processors. The backup units were trying to compensate, but they were overheating and shutting down one by one. At this rate, they would lose breathable air throughout the ship within 6 hours. "Captain, the problem is in the power distribution network," Alina explained. "The surge created microfractures in the primary conduits. We need to reroute power through the secondary systems, but first we have to locate and repair all the damaged sections." Dr. Wong looked grim. 6 hours isn't enough time for that kind of detailed repair work, not with our current methods. Alina felt a spark of hope. "What about Zara? She can sense electrical problems through her skin. She might be able to locate the damage much faster than our instruments." Captain Morrison nodded immediately. "Get her down here now." Alina contacted Zara, who arrived within minutes. When the alien saw the crisis displays, her expression became very serious. "This is bad," Zara said after Alina explained the situation. "Your backup systems are failing because they cannot handle the power fluctuations caused by the damaged conduits. Can you help us find the damaged sections?" Alina asked hopefully. Zara studied the technical readouts, then looked around at the assembled crew members. Alina realized what the problem was. To locate the electrical damage effectively, Zara would need to work in her natural way, but there were a dozen people in the engine room now. Captain Morrison seemed to understand the issue immediately. "Everyone except essential personnel, clear the engine room. Dr. Wang, Lieutenant Chen, you stay. Everyone else, go to your emergency stations." As the room cleared, Alina felt the weight of the crisis pressing down on them. They had maybe 5 hours before the life support failures became critical, and 200 people depending on them to find a solution. "Zara," Alina said quietly, "I know this isn't ideal circumstances, but we really need your help." Zara nodded with determination. "I understand. The lives of your crew are more important than anyone's comfort with my working methods." Alina watched as Zara prepared to work, removing her outer garments so her skin could properly interface with the ship's electrical systems. Captain Morrison and the other officers watched with fascination as Zara's skin began to glow with the familiar patterns that indicated she was sensing energy flows. "The damage is extensive," Zara said as she moved through the engine room. Her hands pressed against various conduits and junction boxes. "But I can trace the pattern. The surge followed the main power trunk from here, then branched out through these secondary lines." What followed was the most intense 4 hours of Elena's life. Working together, she and Zara traced the cascade damage through the ship's entire power grid. Zara could sense problems that wouldn't show up on any human instrument, while Alina provided the technical knowledge to understand how to fix each issue. But the work was dangerous. Some of the damaged sections were in areas with high radiation levels or extreme temperatures. Alina realized with growing dread that many of the repairs would be impossible for humans to complete safely, even in protective suits. "Alina," Zara said as they reached the most critical damage site, "this section will require direct contact with the power conduits while they are active. Your people cannot survive the radiation exposure, even with protection." Alina stared. At the readings, Zara was right. The radiation levels in that compartment would be lethal to humans within minutes, but the repairs couldn't be done remotely. Captain Morrison's voice crackled over the communication system. "Alina, we're down to 90 minutes of safe air on the affected decks. How much longer do you need?" Alina looked at Zara, knowing what she had to ask, but hating to do it. Your people survived that level of radiation?" Zara nodded slowly. "For short periods, yes. My skin can absorb and redirect much of the harmful energy, but I would need to work completely unprotected by clothing or barriers. The radiation would interfere with any protective equipment." Alina felt her heart racing. She was about to ask Zara to risk her life in conditions that would kill any human, working in a way that would shock most of the crew if they knew about it. "Zara, I can't ask you to do this," Alina said. "It's too dangerous." "You are not asking," Zara replied. Firmly, "I am choosing. These people gave me shelter when my ship was dying. Now I can help save their lives. This is what teammates do for each other." Alina felt tears in her eyes. "Captain Morrison, we have a solution, but it requires Zara to work alone in the radiation zone. I need permission to violate standard safety protocols." There was a long pause before the captain's voice came back. "Alina, are you absolutely certain this is the only way?" "Yes, sir. Zara's physiology allows her to work in conditions that would be impossible for humans. Without her, we lose the ship." "Permission granted. Do whatever you need to do." Alina suited up in the heaviest radiation protection available and accompanied Zara as far as safely possible. At the entrance to the most dangerous section, she had to stop and watch through a thick glass barrier as Zara continued alone. What Alina witnessed over the next hour was the most remarkable display of courage and skill she had ever seen. Zara worked methodically through the damaged systems, her skin glowing brighter as it absorbed and redirected the deadly radiation. She repaired connections, rerouted power flows, and rebuilt damaged circuits with her bare hands. Alina provided guidance over the communication system, but Zara was doing work that no human could have accomplished. The aliens' unique abilities weren't just helpful, they were absolutely essential for saving the ship. "Power flow restored to sections 12 through 18, Zara reported as she worked. "Backup systems coming online properly now." Alina watched the displays showing life support gradually returning to normal throughout the ship. The cascade failure was being reversed, one repair at a time, by someone willing to risk everything to save people she had known for less than a week. When Zara finally emerged from the radiation zone, she was exhausted but triumphant. Alina helped her to a safe area where she could rest and recover from the radiation exposure. "You did it," Alina said, her voice full of admiration and gratitude. "You saved everyone on this ship." Zara smiled weakly. "We did it. Your knowledge and my abilities, working together." Captain Morrison's voice came over the communication system again, this time with obvious relief. "All stations, life support, is restored to normal levels throughout the ship. The crisis is over." Alina realized that everything had changed in those 4 hours. Zara hadn't just helped them survive a crisis. She had proven beyond any doubt that cooperation between their species could accomplish things that neither could achieve alone. When Dr. Wong arrived to check on Zara's condition after the radiation exposure, he was amazed to find that she had not only survived but was already recovering. "Her physiology really is adapted for this kind of work," he said to Alina privately. "What she accomplished today would have been impossible for any human, regardless of training or equipment." Alina nodded, feeling a new respect for the complexity of interspecies cooperation. "The question now is whether the crew understands what really happened here." As word spread through the ship about how the crisis had been resolved, Alina could sense a change in the crew's attitude toward Zara. People who had been suspicious or critical were now curious and grateful. They were beginning to understand that differences weren't necessarily problems to be solved, but potentially valuable resources to be appreciated. Alina realized that they had passed a crucial test. When the ship's survival had depended on it, the crew had been willing to trust Zara's unique abilities and unconventional working methods. The crisis had forced everyone to see past surface appearances and recognize the value of true diversity. But Alina also knew that the real challenge would come in the calm after the crisis, when they had to figure out how to build lasting cooperation between species with such different needs and capabilities. The weeks following the life support crisis brought changes that Alina had never expected. Word of what Zara had done spread through the ship quickly, and the alien who had once been viewed with suspicion was now treated as a hero. But Alina knew that the real work was just beginning. Captain Morrison called Alina to his office 3 days after the crisis. When she arrived, she found him working on what appeared to be an official report, his desk covered with technical documents and video recordings. "Alina, sit down," the captain said, looking up from his work. "I'm preparing a detailed report for Starfleet Command about everything that's happened since we rescued Zara. This could change how humanity approaches first contact situations for generations to come." Alina felt a mixture of pride and nervousness. "What kind of changes are you thinking about, Captain?" Captain Morrison leaned back in his chair. "Well, for starters, our current first contact protocols assume that alien species will work and behave similarly to humans. What we've learned is that this assumption could be dangerous, both for us and for them." Alina nodded. "Zara nearly made herself sick trying to conform to our expectations. If we hadn't figured out what was wrong, she might not have been able to help us during the crisis." "Exactly," the captain agreed. "I'm recommending that Starfleet develop new guidelines that focus on understanding physiological and cultural needs, rather than trying to force conformity to human standards." Over the following days, Alina worked with Captain Morrison to document everything they had learned about working with Zara's species. They recorded detailed explanations of how Zara's skin could interface with energy systems, how her people's working requirements differed from humans, and how those differences had actually made their collaboration more effective. Alina also spent time interviewing crew members about their changing attitudes toward Zara. The responses were fascinating and encouraging. "At first, I thought she was being inappropriate," admitted Lieutenant Rodriguez from the navigation department. "But after she saved our lives, I realized I was judging her based on human standards that didn't apply to her situation." Chief Engineer Thompson had an even stronger response. "Working with her has opened my eyes to possibilities I never considered. Her ability to sense energy patterns could revolutionize how we design and maintain our ships." But not everyone was completely comfortable with the changes. Some crew members still struggled with the idea that workplace standards might need to be flexible depending on who was doing the work. Alina found herself in several difficult conversations, trying to help people understand that accommodating different physiological needs wasn't about lowering standards, but about enabling everyone to perform at their best. Dr. Vasquez asked Ensign Park during one of these discussions, How do we know when we should change our rules and when we should insist on maintaining our standards? Alina had thought about this question a lot. I think the key is focusing on the purpose behind our rules. If a rule exists for safety or effectiveness, we need to ask whether following it actually makes things safer and more effective for everyone involved. As the weeks passed, Alina and Zara continued working together on various ship improvements. Their collaboration had produced innovations that neither could have achieved alone. The quantum drive was now running at 120% of its original efficiency, and they had developed new diagnostic techniques that could detect problems days earlier than previous methods. But Alina knew that their time together was limited. Zara's people would eventually expect her to return home, and Alina would have to go back to working alone. One evening, as they finished calibrating a new energy monitoring system, Zara brought up the subject that both of them had been avoiding. Alina, Zara said quietly, I have received a message from my people. They want me to return home soon. Alina felt her heart sink, even though she had known this day would come when, within the next 2 weeks, a ship from my world will meet us at the edge of this star system. Alina tried to hide her disappointment. I'm going to miss working. With you we make a good team. Zara smiled. We do. But Alina, I have something to tell you. I have spoken with my people about everything that has happened here. About how your crew learned to work with me, and how we accomplished things together that neither of our species could do alone. Alina was curious. What did they say? They are very interested in continuing this cooperation. My government wants to establish a formal exchange program between our species. Scientists and engineers working together, learning from each other. Alina's excitement grew. That sounds incredible. What would that look like? Zara's eyes lit up with enthusiasm. Teams of humans and my people working together on research projects, sharing our different abilities and knowledge. Your people are excellent at systematic thinking and detailed planning. My people can sense energy and matter in ways you cannot. Together we could solve problems that neither species could handle alone. The idea was so exciting that Alina could barely contain herself. Have you discussed this with Captain Morrison? Not yet, Zara admitted. I wanted to talk to you first. Alina, my people have asked if you would be interested in coming to our world as the first human ambassador to our scientific community. Alina stared at her friend in amazement. You're serious? They want me to come to your planet? Zara nodded. You understand better than anyone how our species can work together effectively. You were willing to challenge your own assumptions and defend my needs when others doubted. That makes you the perfect person to help establish this partnership. Alina felt overwhelmed with possibility. Working with alien technology on an alien world, helping to build the first real partnership between human and non-human scientists. It was beyond anything she had ever dreamed of. But it was also terrifying, leaving everything familiar, traveling to a world where she would be the alien, working in ways she had never imagined. I need to think about this, Alina said honestly. It's an incredible opportunity, but it's also a huge decision. Of course, Zara agreed. Take all the time you need. Over the next few days, Alina found herself discussing the possibility with Captain Morrison, Dr. Wang, and other crew members. The responses were universally encouraging. Alina, Captain Morrison said, this could be the most important assignment. In human history, you'd be pioneering a completely new form of interspecies cooperation. Dr. Wang was equally supportive. You've already proven that you can work effectively across species barriers. This would be a natural extension of what you've already accomplished. Alina realized that her decision had already been made. She had spent her entire career pushing the boundaries of human knowledge and capability. This opportunity would let her push those boundaries further than anyone had ever gone before. When she told Zara of her decision to accept the ambassador position, the alien's joy was obvious and infectious. Alina, this is wonderful news. My people are going to be so excited to work with you. 2 weeks later, Alina stood in the marine shuttle bay, preparing to transfer to Zara's rescue ship for the journey to the Nexari homeworld. Captain Morrison and most of the senior staff were there to see her off. Alina, Captain Morrison said formally, you carry with you the hopes and respect of everyone aboard this ship. What you've accomplished here has changed how we think about cooperation, understanding, and what it means to work together across differences. Alina felt emotional as she looked around at the crew that had become her family. Thank you, Captain, for trusting me, for supporting difficult decisions, and for showing that humans can learn and grow when faced with new challenges. As she prepared to board the alien ship, Alina reflected on how much had changed since that first day when they rescued Zara. She had learned that true professionalism sometimes meant challenging conventional standards. that understanding someone different required more than just translation, but a willingness to question fundamental assumptions. Most importantly, she had learned that the future of human exploration wouldn't just be about discovering new worlds, but about discovering new ways of thinking, working, and being. 6 months later, Alina received a message from the Meridian. Captain Morrison reported that Starfleet had officially adopted new first contact protocols based on her recommendations. Ships throughout the fleet were being trained in cultural flexibility and physiological accommodation. Alina smiled as she read the message in her laboratory on the Nexari homeworld, where she was working with a team of both human and Nexari scientists on projects that were advancing both civilizations. The work was challenging, exciting, and sometimes difficult, but Alina had learned that the most important discoveries often came from the most unexpected collaborations. She looked out the window at the alien sky, then back at her mixed-species research team, and felt grateful for the day she had chosen to look beyond surface appearances to find the extraordinary capabilities that lay beneath. The universe was vast and full of possibilities, and Alina was helping to prove that the best way to explore it was together.